Joining me now is Leonard Armato, a contributor here at Forbes. Leonard, thank you so much for joining me again.
Well, it's great to be here, Brittany. I've been looking forward to this conversation. It's about a really fun subject, college athletics. A lot of people think that college athletics is like the Wild Wild West now. So it'll be funny and really fun to unpack this here with you today.
That's an interesting way to characterize it, the wild, wild west. And I do want to break all that down. But let's talk about news in college athletics, college football specifically. And it was announced last month that Deion Sanders will be the new head coach at the University of Colorado. For Forbes, you write he is changing the game when it comes to college coaching. Can you explain why?
Well, yeah, it's really interesting. And to get to that, we really should understand a little bit of history. The way the NCAA has treated its athletes is that they're student athletes and they're not allowed to be compensated above and beyond their scholarships. So if they want to remain an amateur and eligible to play, they can't make any extra money. And the NCAA also made it really difficult for athletes to transfer from school to school. So the rule was if you were going to transfer to another school, you had to sit out a year and then you would lose a year of eligibility. So that made it really, really difficult for athletes to transfer. So most athletes just stayed at the same school the entire time. And then what happened is the NCAA decided to allow something called the transfer portal, which made athletes able to freely transfer from school to school. So it was like a nightmare for coaches because an athlete would come in and say, well, if I don't get to play more, then I'm going to go on the transfer portal and leave. And so the coaches were like going, oh my gosh, what are we going to do with this? And athletes were going from school to school to school. So they sort of started to figure out that if you had a coach that was really good at recruiting and very charismatic, they could attract athletes to the school. And so colleges started to figure out, okay, well, maybe we pay these charismatic coaches to come and they could bring their star players with them. So all of a sudden, this really interesting situation happened last year where USC recruited from the University of Oklahoma a coach named Lincoln Riley. Well, he comes to USC, and USC had a 4-8 record, so they had a terrible record. But Lincoln Riley brought with him his star quarterback, and 40 players transferred to USC on the portal. Next thing you know, the following season, USC goes 11-2, is a contender for the national championships, and Caleb Williams wins the Heisman Trophy. Boom. All right, so big turnaround. Well, there's a guy named Deion Sanders, very charismatic. He's like a reverend, like a preacher. He also has this incredible resume as being one of the greatest athletes of all time. So Deion Sanders turns Jackson State around from 0-11 to like 11-0, some crazy turnaround. It's a HBCU school. And he gets a big offer from Colorado University, a Pac-12 school, to come and turn their program around. So Deion goes to Colorado, gets a huge contract, and he starts preaching that Colorado is going to be the next great program. And guess what happens? 200 athletes go on the portal wanting to join Deion Sanders at Colorado University. So all of a sudden, it's this crazy time where athletes are moving and following college coaches. Now, I want to just sort of take it one step further. The NCAA lost a big court case very recently at the Supreme Court level. And now college athletes are allowed to make money based on their name, image, and likeness. So instead of just being amateur athletes who can't get any additional compensation besides their scholarship, they can make money for market value deals based on their name, image, and likeness. But there's also a rule that says there can't be any pay for play. That means the athletes can't be promised name, image, and likeness deals for going to a school. So now what you have is charismatic coaches, the transfer portal, name, image, and likeness, and all of a sudden, big time schools around the country are forming what they call collectives. And these collectives are groups of boosters that want to put money in a kitty so that when athletes come through the portal or get recruited from high school to that school, they have name, image, and likeness deals ready to go for those athletes. So sorry for the long explanation, but it's a crazy world out there right now, Brittany.